a key thing that came up across our handprint care work was how do we plan ESD learning activities together as teachers, together with our pupils, and also together in terms of the local context and community and school settings. And one of the criticisms that was made was that too much ESD is kind of like outside the school curriculum trying to get in, or out in the environment. And we need to really bring these rich learnings together by planning subject-based ESD together. And we have to take into account context for our startup stories in real-world settings, review the specified subject content in relation to this, consider the competencies that are specified in the curriculum and the ESD competences. And then we need to include an ethic of care, concern for others and concern for the future. Along with this, one of the important tools that we can use to co-define concerns is the Sustainable Development Goals. And these are explored in the other short YouTubes associated with this. But critical is the startup story sharing, the real world stories, and then drawing on some of the libraries of activities that are emerging around key topics in the curriculum, like water pollution, biodiversity, nutrition, climate change, and plastics, etc. Some of which are in the International Handbook for Handprint Care as exemplars. Then what we need to do is to map out the competencies and plan learning together. And one of the key things that I do is look at, okay, what can I assess? What am I going to assess? What are the learners going to assess? And look at, can we plan learning to find out, to explore, and to work out ideas, where we start with stories, then we find out more, we work things out together, and we try out and assess solutions to these concerns. And all of these are an expansion of the curriculum knowledge, and the curriculum knowledge is needed for actually being able to understand the concerns and do something about them. So continuous assessment, assessment for learning and assessment of learning, and the idea of inclusive care, the ethic is important. And then, of course, our assessment strategies are really critical. If we are just assessing the learning, if we're not assessing for learning, and if we're not assessing the learning that is coming out, then what we're doing is we're just teaching on a whim, if you like. The assessment is a critical dimension to any professional teaching. And what we're learning through the handprint care approach is that the inclusion of matters of concern in subject teaching is possible. It can be a curriculum-activated process in subject teaching that is planned with students to include change challenges. And there are many ways of doing this. There's not one recipe, there's not one right way, but there are ways that teachers can learn together. If something is successful in your classroom, if something is successful with your learners, then share it around. Actually share it with other teachers. Share your lesson plans, share your materials. And this is being done in the SST, Sustainability Starts with Teachers. It's such an evocative little title because sustainability does start with teachers. And it starts with teachers working with their learners, being guided by the learners, being inspired by the learners, and actually taking up local matters of concern linked with the subjects that we're actually teaching. And that's what we've learned, is that handprint care is about caring and learning together, doing things, sharing things, and developing ideas with our students through a joint planning and engagement in the world and the concerns of the world.